Hey, how's it going? Josh here from Tek With Josh, and this is episode 17 of Tek With Josh. This episode is titled Into the Fold? Question mark. Let's dive in. What is the fold? Well, this is an episode about foldable phones, where it's a Z Fold, Z Flip, Pixel Fold, Razor Plus, or an Apple Fold. The phone? We're going to talk about the scene in general. What's my opinion? You don't have to wait till the end to hear this, but honestly, they're cool, but expensive for the most part. And when I talk foldables, I'm not talking about the Microsoft Duo line because that's not truly a foldable because it has separate screens. When I'm talking foldables, I mean something that has a single large screen that folds in a certain angle. And don't get me wrong, I know I just said they're expensive, but you can get a Z Flip 5 or a Razor for $1,000. The Razor Plus, the new one. But I'm not talking about those because those are like entry devices. What do I mean by entry devices? Well, if you look at my phone, I have a 14 Pro Max at the time of the recording of this episode. And the entry level iPhone will be the 14. Sure, it has similar specs, but I have the higher tier version. Same thing with foldables. You have the flips, and then you have the fold series for Samsung, which has better specs, bigger screen, things like that. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about foldables. And the Galaxy Fold 5 and the new Pixel Fold are $1,800. You heard me right, $1,800 before tax, before any protection plans. Of course, this is before trade-ins and incentives, things like that. I know those exist. But $1,800 is a lot of money. For that much money, you can buy a laptop. A high-end laptop at that. Sure, I know the phones do a lot, especially the foldables, but $1,800. My iPad Pro, when I purchased it new, with a higher data storage, with that Magic Keyboard, with the Apple Pencil, and this is a cellular version, is essentially a little bit less than $1,800. That's how expensive $1,800. And this is the 12.9-inch version. This was the M1. That tells you how expensive $1,800 is, because you can get a regular non-folding phone, Samsung, for $1,000, or the higher end, like $1,250. You can get a tablet, the higher end tablet, and be in that ballpark. So why would anybody do it? And the answer is productivity. A good friend of mine loves Android, and since the Fold has been a thing, since the second one, because the first one had so many issues, he's loved it nonstop because they no longer make the Note. And he runs a business off his phone. And the screen real estate is a big reason why he did it. Along with S Pen support, things like that. So spreadsheets, documents, messaging, emails. It's amazing. Even web browsing or reading. It's amazing screen real estate. And honestly, if Apple brought out a foldable, I would buy it. And that's the thing. I've grown accustomed to big phones. And that screen real estate for consuming content is so nice. It's like I'm used to watching videos on my laptop, my TV, desktop, my iPad. And when I go to my phone, it's not the same anymore because I'm used to a bigger screen. It leaves me wanting more. And I have the biggest iPhone they have. Plus, battery life. Bigger phone, bigger battery. I know it's not a thing right now for the Galaxy Folds or Pixel. But in the future, we could have bigger batteries. But that screen real estate and software optimization also helps. The Pixel Fold is not really optimized yet, so from early reviews of the device, it's hit or miss. Certain things that can't be done on there that can be done on different folds, especially brands that aren't available here but are available in China. But it's just the future of technology. Back to phones. I remember when we had Blackberries. The screens were so small for the Pro, especially the 81 series. Then the 8300 series made it a decent size. The 9000 series Bold was slightly bigger. Then you had the Tour for Sprint, things like that. Those phones, small screens. Then Android started getting traction with the G1, then the G2 or the HTC Hero in America. Then you had the Evo 4G or the HTC Thunderbolt for Verizon, which were 4.3-inch screens. We that is small if you ever try to pick one up today. And screens have gone progressively larger and larger. Remember when the Note came out, we talked about, oh, that's too big. Whereas the first Note is a small phone. So with the foldables, you have a much bigger display, but it's in the form factor of your current phone because it folds closed. Or if you want the flip phone, it's a much smaller profile and it opens up to similar size of a phone. So it takes up less space for what you're getting. The only problem is durability. Mr. Mobile on YouTube, if you check him out, Mike Fisher, he talks about how many times he had that screen protector changed on his Fold 4. About 3 times in 12 months. And repairs early when they first were new. So the Fold 1, 2, 3 around that time. And the original Razor, when it broke, there's no repair shops. Sure, now parts are a bit more accessible, but it's still not the same durability as you're going to get from a traditional phone. Because it's less moving parts. You have a hinge. Particles, dust, sand, anything could get in there, grime. Even the oil that's on the hinge can dry up. You never know with electronics. So that's another failure point. Can't be as water resistant as a regular phone because, again, moving parts. And another problem is the internals. So one of the things Samsung does to keep the cost down, $1,800, I know saying they're keeping the cost down here, is they actually have a lower spec camera than the mainline, the Ultra series or the regular S series, because they can't fit those same big modules in there from the current flagships that they just released this year. So it's a step down. And with the way smartphones are this day, you won't really notice a difference unless you're pixel peeping or low light, things like that. But that's a drawback for the foldables. You're spending all that money and you're getting last year's camera hardware. And sometimes you get an older processor. The whole thing is productivity. With the Samsungs, you get the DeX UI. You can hook it up to TV, things like that. That's been around for a while, but it's running multiple apps on the screen. I remember when multitasking first became a thing in Android. That's how long I've been in the cell phone business back then. And it was a big thing. Talk about you can run 2 apps on top of each other. Then they had like the hover view, things like that. But the screens, like I said, were small back then compared to today. And they were limited on what apps you can have, things like that. So with these new foldable phones, a lot of application developers are making it so they work better with foldables because it is the future. And with Google jumping on board, it's a big thing because Google develops Android. That's their operating system. And there's always been talks about Apple. And once Apple does it, Apple's basically never the first company in the party. But when they come, everybody comes. And when I say everybody comes, I mean the fanboys. It's like when the iPhone brought 4G. Apple wasn't the first phone with 4G. And we're like, oh my god, Apple has 4G. 4G is a thing, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, the Thunderbolt had LTE. The HTC Evo 4G had WiMAX 4G. At the time, you had the iPhone 4, which had HSPA regular, and the 4S to after had HSPA Plus, which is basically 3.5G. But Apple, when they do something, everybody adopts it. Took off the headphone jack. They were made fun of it by Samsung. Guess what? Samsung did stop including a charger in the box, stop including headphones, stop including an adapter. Samsung laughed at them. And guess what? Every single phone manufacturer started doing it as well. under the guise of e-waste. So once Apple makes a foldable phone, more people are gonna jump on it because that's Apple is one of the biggest companies in the world, $1 trillion business, and sure the price might even be higher than $1,800. Let's say it's $2,100. That said, $1,800 was a lot, and $2,100 is close to 16-inch MacBook Pro territory. But I can guarantee you, people will buy it, and I'll probably be one of them because the UI, iOS, the way Apple streamlines everything, that it works from device to device. How I can work from my laptop to my iPad, things like that, continuity. I can control all my devices from one device with the same mouse and keyboard, which is amazing for what I do. And to be able to have that on the phone, and now that they're saying might be USB-C because of the EU standards, give me that phone with USB-C, with screw USB-C, give me Thunderbolt on that, because I have Thunderbolt devices. And guess what? If I want to record a podcast, I can do that from my iPhone with the app I use on the Ferrite on my iPad, with my actual SLR mic, with my interface, power through my phone. That would be amazing. And that's the thing. Having a foldable phone is only part of it. The software has to be there, and also accessories. So we know Samsung has the S Pen, which is great. Like I said, you're opening up the phone. You can draw, you can work on spreadsheets, you can do PowerPoints, things like that. Apple would need to have Apple Pencil support or something to make it worthwhile, because when the iPad first launched, it was just a big iPhone. I remember when Steve Jobs announced the original iPad and the iPad 2G, which was a lot thinner and lighter, but to me, the software wasn't there. Even when we had iPad OS, it wasn't still there. Now with center stage, there's something differentiate it from the competition from a phone, because the phone, they run essentially the same software, the same apps. Originally, when you open up an app, it wasn't compatible, so you had to just zoom in. That's what it was. But the iPad has a life of its own with the Files app, even though it's on iOS. Hook up external devices. Like I said, I run SLR mixer off of there through USB-C and Thunderbolt and things like that. The smart keyboard now with the pass-through, things like that, wasn't the original. So the first gen iPhone flip, fold, whatever you want to call it, probably won't be that great, which is one of the only reasons I might wait, is because it might be okay, but it's not perfected. Just like the original iPhone, couldn't copy and paste, take videos, have 3G, do a lot of things. Didn't even have an app store. And over the years, it got better. Samsung, they're on their 5th iteration. They still have some bugs. The battery life isn't the greatest, but guess what? It's a way better phone than the first one was. Even if they had the same processor and camera, the screen on the first one, customers removing the film thinking it was a screen protector and breaking the screen, it's come a long way. And that's the whole thing. In today's day and age, foldables are becoming more and more relevant because they're being perfected. The Pixel Fold is their first iteration. It's like Google's Tensor CPU. It's something newer, and it still has bugs, but it's getting better and better. So, should you get a foldable or flip or whatever? It's up to you. But if you love Android, you might want to take a look at it, that price point. If it's not on your budget, maybe hold off or buy last year's model. But I'm telling you, in 2 or 3 years, folds and flips are going to be the norm. That's it for this episode of the Tek With Josh. And enter the fold. We might be. But take care and catch you guys in the next one. See ya.